Okay guys, we've got the bucket, the body sitting in a bucket of hot water. We've got our sandpaper. We threw the cowl in there to melt all the salt off, and we scraped this off by hand and used some hot water to get it off, kind of rush that. It's best to let the parts sit and soak overnight, like the hood left on there, so you can just let it dissolve like salt wants to do naturally. So I'm using the one finger and I'm just buffing it away. Now the last color we put on top of everything was the dark blue and then the dark black. I went with the black last and my darker colors last, so as I'm setting them down, I know in my head I want to try to get all the black off the body, because the black is kind of bringing out purples and stuff which we don't want to see. So I'm going to go through there and just keep working away, and then you get down to the next color, which is the dark blue, and then I'm going to start dropping that dark blue out so it feathers in with the pearl green underneath, which is actually kind of turning into almost like a silvery kind of look. It's just going really good compared to how crappy it looked for us when we first pulled it out. It wasn't looking too promising. And the cool thing about it is you don't really need a plan. You just start going at it, and then it's the finishing work from this point. Like, this is just your base, and then you're gonna put all your detailing, your rusting, and your weathering on top of it. So you don't really gotta focus too much on it, but you do want to get some cool colors running in through here. So 400 grit, warm water, wet sander out. Now remember, we have base color teal, and then we put salt on, and then we did 5 colors, and then we took some salt, a little bit of salt off, not all of it. We added more salt, and then 3 more colors plus black on top, so that's 4 more colors, so we're at 72 colors. So, and remember, there was no, like, we just kind of picked it. I wish I had some more gold. Gold looks really good. If you can get gold and teals popping up in there, it looks fantastic. Gives it a really aged look, because everybody liked gold and teal back in the day on their vehicles, or it was just readily available, so there was lots of it used. So I think every Oldsmobile made a lot of Oldsmobile made a lot of nice cars in gold colors back then. I used to have a old Dynamic 88. It was a pretty cool car. All gold with the 350 gold rocket, with the matched gold rocket transmission, all spray painted gold from the factory. So, around all your rusting that you did with the Dremel ahead of time, you want to make sure you focus on that area. Really try, just pretty much, we're going to rust all that, so just try to take as much paint as you can off, and then you get a really nice wild look in there with the way it's all coming together. You know, you can hear how rough it still is from the layers, so once you start getting those layers down, it'll start getting smooth, and that's when the real effect of it starts coming out. So another thing is, you don't have to sand it if you're happy with the way it looks. Then just leave it. Grill looks pretty good. That's pretty much gonna call that done right there, besides adding the rust and the dirt to it, but it's looking pretty good. It's kind of the effect we want to go throughout the entire body like that, you know, the worn edges like that, worn all the way down, naturally weathering. Top of your fenders are going to be burnt right off from the sun. Top of the hood, any of the top areas will be sunburnt and bleached right off. It's best if you're doing this to not just sit there and do it all in one session. Do a panel and then go think about it. Go do something else, and then just think about what ugly, rust and crusty vehicles look like, and then you come up with some ideas of how you want to attack it in your head, and then go back and attack it. If you're having trouble, just go look at some pictures on the internet, like we all do for R&D, and then send it. But yeah. So the rivets that stick out of the body here, 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 and here, you don't want to get on top of those. You want to work around them and leave a little bit of the black around them, because that's kind of where, you know, how it would be if it's weathered. So you see, we got to finish up this back corner and get rid of all that black, because that black's going to turn purple with the colors underneath it, and I don't want any purple on this thing. It's already starting to show some pink through. There's nothing we're going to be able to do about that, but that's fine. I just don't want to have pink and purple the same thing. Nothing wrong with it, but we got pink and blue coming through on the front. I'm not terribly happy with that, but I can do something to hide that up a little bit better, add some color to it. So the underneath, we can just brush black. Underneath, I'll brush black, and then I'll add a bit of rust and stuff like that where you would see it and stuff like that. So I don't really focus on the bottom too much. In hindsight, I should have went over and sprayed it matte black before I started taking all the salt off. Should have flipped it over and just blasted it matte black underneath. This corner got some pretty extensive damage. We went We went to town on it. We split the body seam here with a knife and a saw and kind of heat it up and pulled the plastic back and mash this corner up pretty good and peel this guy back. We got hooked on something. And you guys that do any full-size wheeling, you know how quick your truck starts to look like a turd pretty quickly out there. So everything we have here is we live in the prairies, everything's flat, so if we're going wheeling up a hill, it's a hole that somebody dug in the ground, we're just driving out of it. Or we're trailing through swamps and bush and stuff, and there's a lot of time where you tip over and lean against trees because the ground looks like it's solid and you drive on, it's not, so you end up with a lot of these on your trucks or a tree rested up against and such. So okay, so I'm going to go through and finish this up, and then we'll get this guy into some better lighting. I know there's some pretty heavy glare coming off the light I'm using to see what I'm doing down here. I'm sitting on the basement floor. Hence the socks and the sandals. It's freaking cold down here, so I'm going to finish bumping this out, get it up on the bench with some light on it. We can show you what it looks like, and then we can start adding in the rust and the decay and the death and the rot. Okay, just wanted to take a second here to go over some of the materials that we've acquired over the years to use when weathering these different things we do. Start with this brand here, Citadel. They make stuff for modeling. This is called Typhe's Corrosion, and it does like a textured kind of a metal look. If you use this and this Rhizus Rust, it's like a fluorescent orange, but it's kind of gone to like a hard paste in there now. But you brush this on over top of that, and when this dries, it darkens up and makes a really nice rust look. Sorry, we had a leak, everything spilt all over in the drawer, so these guys look dirty. This one's another Newland oil. It's like a shade. You can add this to give like running oil effects and stuff on the motor. Really nice stuff, really simple to use. You can actually do a full scale job just using those and not putting real rust and stuff on. So great product. We like using those. I actually got to get some more. Then if you want to do the real rust, we use the Scenic Rust Kit. This is one that's just readily available in our local hobby shop at ProNoobRC in Winnipeg. There's many you can order online. This one works good, but the activator for the rust to kick it over does not work well. We have another mix that we put in a spray bottle that we call Rust. It's 1 cup hydrogen peroxide, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and half a teaspoon of salt. You shake that up, let it dissolve, you spray that onto metal, and it instantly rusts before your eyes. It's pretty cool. That's how we do our scale wagon wheels with the rusted effect and stuff like that, so we don't gotta wait weeks for it to happen, it just happens. So you can, basically, what you got here is a binder, basically just basic like a white glue. And then you got this little jar full of iron oxide or metal filings and a little brush. You just mix up a little batch. It's kind of like a purpley color when it's mixed up. Just dab it on where you want the rust. Their activator stuff, don't use it, it doesn't work. Just spray it with that and that will kick it over and make it look really nice. So that's one thing. You can also, to get the rust, you can just dissolve a SOS pad in a little bit of water. And I think you add a little bit of water, a little bit of hydrogen peroxide, or something or other, and that breaks it down and goes rust. So then we get a Sharpie, permanent fine tip pen. You can do little details, highlight things that you want, little shadows and stuff like that, just kind of little areas like that. Pretty cool. These are your Sharpie metallic silver markers. We use these for if we've sanded through down to the base, we can touch a little silver on there and actually add a lot of silver highlights to it. And then these are the Tamiya weathering sticks. They come in all different colors and shades. This one here is Light Earth, and they're like a chapstick kind of thing. Comes out, it's like a makeup, so you can rub it on. Give me your sample. You can rub it onto your project, and then you can also just spread it around with your finger, or you can use another little brush and you can work it around. It's pretty nice stuff. We've done a few projects using this stuff, and they come in all different shades, all different colors. We've got 5 here. Sand, mud, light earth 2, and another sand. Okay, so we got 3 colors here, but pretty decent. We use a Tamiya acrylic paint retarder and black paint to make a wash. Just acrylic black paint poured in the, use one of these old Tamiya paint caps. I think it's like 20 parts to 1 or whatever. I just put a bunch in the bottom with my brush, let it drip off, and pour some retardant on top of it. Swirl it around till you got a nice thin wash coat, basically. And then you can go over areas of the vehicle with a wash coat. You can cover the entire vehicle wash coat, darken it up and stuff. So that's a fun method to do it with. And we've got the Tamiya diorama texture paint. This is Soil Effect Dark Earth, and this one is Soil Effect Brown. These are literally paint on mud. A little bit tough to use. Works better, kind of spread it on, kind of work it around. More of diorama stuff, more you wouldn't use onto the trucks. We have used it on some of the trucks, but you could achieve the effects in other ways. But if you're doing a mud-based truck and you need it, it's there. So this is more Tamiya's weather mastering kits here. This is the orange rust, gunmetal, and silver. And basically this is a makeup kit for your RCs. The brush is missing for some reason in this one, but it is a little makeup brush. One end's like a makeup brush, the other one's like a makeup brush. I don't know what you call them. Mini brush and sponge kind of thing. I find this stuff works best is if you take another tool and you kind of scratch the makeup powder down, and then you can dab the brush into the powder and get the pigment going, and then just tap the brush over top of it, kind of sprinkle it down on there. It usually gets you the best effect with this stuff. So, oh, they make 3 different, well, they make a whole bunch of different colors. We got 3 different colors here, which covers 9, or 3 different packs, which cover 9 different shades. And you should pretty much be able to do anything with those. And then we move into Vallejo products. Vallejo products, this one, first one we have is a chipping medium. Use this with water-based paint, and you put down your water-based paint, you put down this, and then you put down your chipping, and then yeah, you final coat of water-based acrylic, yeah. So you put down this, you put down a coat of a water-based acrylic, and then you come back, you moisten it up, and then you can chip away at it with an edge of a brush and kind of make a chipped edge, which is nice. This is a crackle medium. You put down your paint, let your paint dry, brush this over top, and it will crack the top layer. The idea is to have like a red underneath and then a black over top. You put this over top and it shrinks the black and makes it crack so you see the red underneath. It doesn't work good on 2 same colors, so you have to have it on like a white underneath, brown on top thing to make that work well. And this is just some of the sample paints we use. This is light orange. It looks very good. Turns to rust pretty quick if you use this. And some of this stuff here. This is pigments. You can mix this stuff again with just the paint retarder to create a wash. So we've got Sienna Claro, whatever, Sienna Sierra light sand, and then we also have dark slate. So with those 2 colors, you should be able to get any kind of mud and dirt effect you want. And if you just lightly sprinkle this on over top of the orange when it dries, it pretty much looks just like rust. This is another product I picked up just to try out by Vallejo Products. It is basically mud and grass that you just paint on with a brush. It actually has little fibers in it to make it look like grass and mud. So we might throw a little bit on the inside of the wheel wells on the truck when it's done, the bottom edge, make it look like it's splashed with some mud. Just kind of check that out. So this one's new to us. I can't really tell you much about it until we use it, but we're going to try it on this build and let you know. So that's just a quick review on some of the junk we use to achieve the what's it called? The ever-learning process of weathering. You know, like I said in the beginning, we're still learning. So just wanted to show you what we've acquired. And yeah, not necessarily how to use it all today, sorry, but this is just what we have. If you do see the stuff at the hobby shop, scoop it up. It's always good to have. One day you might get bored and start messing with it. Okay, so we'll get back to the build and continue weathering this truck up. Okay, well there we go. We finished up wet sanding in the bucket like we just had in earlier in the video series here. So now she's back and ready for the paint. We've got all the layering and the weathering and the sun bleaching effect that I was going for sitting on the top, and all the different layers and such right on the side. So looking pretty good. Lights in are pretty bright, so there is some colors in here that are popping off pretty good. Once we get it dulled out and all that, it'll look a lot better. But yeah, coming along pretty good. Things looking pretty decent on it. Very happy. So, got it. So the first step I'm going to do is start pretty much at the bottom. You want to start with doing some of the raw metal kind of stuff would be worn. You can just take your little silver marker and just do little touches on the edges here and there. Just touch here or there, you know what I mean? Touch wherever the kind of high spots would be. The edge of the hood line here, put a little bit of silver in there. A little bit like that. These front little high points, you know, do the edges on them. So this marker is running out and dying, which is kind of cool because this marker is brand new and it's leaking out too much. So you can actually take the old marker and then just load up the tip of the dried marker so then you can do a dry brushing effect with it. You can just dab it on actually real nice and get a little dry brushing effect going on. So kind of cheap way to do things without running to your paint kit all the time. The markers are okay for this kind of stuff, so how about her? Cruise around, do the dash on the little high edges where things get rubbed down like that. And we'll come back over top of that and we'll tint that down again, add some more weather to that. Yeah, so just cruise around. You know, I went through last night and I probably spent about 2 hours with the marker slowly going over it and just poking at corners and edges and little things that would take forever to do on the camera right now. But if you get in there, you can do all the little edges and stuff like that and kind of get them looking you know, the way you want, right? So get up close shots like that. So you see around this door and such here, we've got. Come on, camera, do your thing. Yeah, so now we start need to, now that we get the bare metal and all that done, now the second step would be start adding in our rust. So I'm gonna go rust, and then I'm gonna do some dirt and stuff on top of the rust. But the main thing is starting with the rust. This is where you want to get a really cheap set of brushes because you're gonna ruin them. I use these little throwaway tester brushes. You get usually 3 in a pack for a couple bucks. So pick one that you're gonna destroy. You get out your little cup of iron pre-mixed up with the sauce. It tells you in the kits on these to mix them 50-50. Do not mix them 50-50. It doesn't work. Put some iron in the cup and then add some of the binder or the glue on top of it. And then you're gonna have to keep mixing it as you use it. Use a little bit of it, load the brush, and then mix it up. And the brush gets loaded right up and just becomes a mess really quick. So, but don't work too quick with it. You need to take your time, put the rust on properly. So I like to load the brush up and then whisk off the excess. And you're gonna want to start right in the front corner. As you can see, it goes on blue. I just did right here. Goes on kind of blue, so you can kind of see what you're doing. This guy, we're not going silly. We want to keep this cool paint job effect that we ended up with. It worked out perfectly for the plan. I don't care terribly for the colors, but we were going for a Jeep that we wouldn't like because it was a 1960s style, so it worked out good. It's from somebody else's generation, right? When you're doing holes, like in the back side of the fender right here, you want to make sure you get inside the hole too everywhere. Put the brush right in there and give it a wiggle. Get right in there everywhere on it. Okay, so just like that, paint in around all of your damage and holes you did wherever you think you want to do it. Make sure you do not forget the inside of the fender wells. Those need to be done too. Follow all the way around. Don't go too heavy. Do whatever you want, but I would suggest not going too heavy. If you are going to do the panels like together, or sorry, it's best to do the panels kind of together when you're transitioning through the seams to make sure you don't have these weird ass offset rust line that doesn't add up. So I have the hood off right now. I'm going to do the bottom of the hood line, all that such, but it doesn't really matter on this type of vehicle because it doesn't line up terribly well. So, well, it's a Jeep, right? It just sits on top of the fender. So I'm going to finish up throwing this down, and then we're going to rust that with our spray rust, and then we'll come back, show you guys that, and then we're going to start working the next layer on top of that. So in a few hours, we'll be back. Or 10 seconds. Okay, welcome back. Next day, next morning here, we're working on the Jeep. We finished getting our rust applied on it last night. It was a late process, probably up to about 3 in the morning. Getting that stuff on there, you're gonna put it on, wait a little bit, come back, hit it with that mixture that we talked about earlier, the liquid rust that we use, which makes it kick over pretty much immediately. The instructions on this stuff says apply this stuff for 8 hours, let that dry, and then use their developer on it after 8 hours, wait another 8 hours, and then it will rust. If you use the mix that we gave you earlier with the hydrogen peroxide, vinegar, and salt, that will actually kick it over and it will rust literally instantly. So yeah, so we've gone through, knocked out the rust that we wanted done all on the bottom edges, all the way around, and yada yada yada. So this is base layer number 2 done. We did the raw metal number 1, and then we did 2 rust over top. Now we're going to step into the next area, which will be adding in some pigments. So we go over to our Vallejo pigments here. Vallejo, this one here, we have Sienna Claro, Light Sienna. It's like a sand color. This one here we have Pizzero Oscuro, Dark Slate Gray. Fancy names for them. These are powder. You do want to wear a dust mask if you're using these. You don't want to inhale that stuff and make you sick. So I use these old paint caps because we always got a ton of them. Instead of throwing them out, they're good to recycle and use for a paint lid. There we go. You just need a cart to get the material onto the vehicle. You can use paint thinner, paint retarder. You can even use water, but this stuff evaporates a little bit better. So go with that. Actually already got a little bit enough in there for the project. And then yeah, you just want to mix in some. That was a lot. For doing the washes, I like to use a fatter brush, a flat, a wide, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm going to start with just a little bit, do a test area in the back of the bed right here. I'll start with the corner, see what it looks like. Do a little wipe. Now this stuff's going to run and kind of settle. So the idea of what I want to do with this one is I'm going to give this whole area a coat. It gives it a nice tint to everything there, kind of knocks it down. So that's kind of the idea of making your own, what do you call that? Your own wash, if you would. That'd be a black wash, right? I like to then take a little bit on a zip tie and then just tap, kind of sprinkle it around in there. You can use something a little bigger, but zip tie will never give you too much of a mess. I just tap my other hand as I'm holding it here like this, and it just shakes off. So hold it up higher to get more of a spread. If a clump falls on there, it's totally fine. Clumps fall on things in real life, so even looking like it was pushed around a little bit, totally fine. Just let that dry. You want to make sure you get some in the corners where the dirt would be built up. You can just dump it in there. Give it a tap like that. See it all sitting in the corner there. Good. So I'm gonna stop like there, leave it alone, let that dry. We'll come back and check on that when that's dry. Another wash we have here is like the Tamiya black panel line accent stuff. That stuff you can use too. More subtle areas. So go all the way around the tail light. Another technique that works well is also just dry brushing it on. You could load up a dirty old brush like that and then just tap over. I kind of like the zip tie because it gives you a little bit more clumps. This works for a nice consistent pattern everywhere, kind of on top. So I'll do the zip tie first down into the corner. In the corners and get some clumps and dump some little piles on there and then go over tap with the brush. So okay, so using those techniques like I just did on the back with the panel line accent color and a little brush, or you can make up your own dark wash like we did to paint this side panel here and add some dirt. Now these are just little portion tricks that you can use throughout the entire body. Once again, you don't want to sit here and watch me do the entire thing. So remember that you can just do a black wash. As you change the color of it, you can just leave it like that. You can also sprinkle the pigment on top of it to give it the dirty, dirt piled up effect like that. Also, when that's dry, you can go back with your brush and still move that around, change it, clean it out. So come up with a little bit of a different look even. So little things to mess with. And yeah, we had a little bit of rust to throw in a few more places on the truck. Wait for this hood to dry, put the front bumper together. Then we can show you what we're going to do, modify the seats on it, and then we're going to start building a steel cage for the inside. So, yeah. So go get up there and make some rust. This is the wheel and tires we're going to be using for the truck on the project. Now, I've just taken these out to the sandblaster and blasted off the thin coat of paint that was on them. Now I'm just gonna go spray them down with that rust mix that we have, and these will be nice and rusty by tomorrow morning. So when we throw them onto the truck, they'll suit the rest of it. So, okay, we didn't want to skimp on anybody's product here, so we're gonna talk about also making a little rust patch. It's gonna show you that you could do the entire project without growing rust, actually a lot faster with Citadel products. This is the Typhus corrosion. You want to give whatever you got left in there a mix. We had a spill with this, so it's a little low, but usually just shake it up. Whatever comes out on this little tongue on the top of the anti-spill cap is pretty nice. Load up in there. It's gritty. You can see the brush get fat to know that she's nice and loaded. Side of the hood here, a little patch of rust that we forgot to do. I'm just going to brush paint this in. A little green patch right there. Stuff works better if you just tap, tap, tap it down. It's got a grain to a grit to it, so you want to make sure you keep reloading. Reload, and it gets pretty heavy in the brush. No, don't use a good brush with this stuff. It obviously ruins your brushes. I'm going to give it a good rinse and try to save the brush, but throw it on the side there, and then once that's dry, we'll come back over it. We'll show you how to put a coat of that on. Okay, just went and had a fat big old plate of fries, got this guy all dried up now. So now you want to get back in here with your RZA Rust. I don't know if that's called, I think it says RZA Rust. Ours is kind of turned to a chunky paste, but that's fine, it works. It looks like a fluorescent orange, but when you put it on and it dries, it actually darkens up, so. Load up your brush. then we can start applying it to the corrosion. You know, if you do clean your brush periodically using the Citadel product, it doesn't actually destroy it. I've always just gone for like a long session. I guess let it dry on there too much, so there's no saving it. So that's in, that's done, that's on there. You can see that's starting to rust and kind of orange up already for us. So yeah, I'm gonna let that dry. We'll come back and check that out. Okay, well now we're heading into the final stages, which are the favorite part, reassembly. This went a little longer than planned. This turned into 3 like 10-12 hour days of working away at this to get this done. So yeah, we went through, we did the rust, we showed you how to make up a mixture with pigment and thinner so you can do some dirt and such like that, knock areas down. And then we showed you the Citadel rust product so you can do some fake rust like along the edge of the top of the hood line there. You can't even tell once it's all blended in. The seats, I just went over and black washed them with a brush. Added some rust onto the frames on the back. That's actually real rust. I didn't use the Citadel. I grew some rust on there with the Deluxe Materials kit, Scenic Rust. So that's on there. Put a little rip in the seat and threw a spring sticking out. I just used a piece of pen spring. I know it's not accurate, but it's just kind of funny. I believe in the military they just had foam pads. They didn't have any springs in the seat, so I got a piece of this from my lovely wife. She cut me off an inch. It's, you know, these things are very precious around here. So yeah, so back seat, we got the passenger seat done there, driver seat done here. Actually, just letting the floor pan dry. You can see the rust sitting in the corners. So as you're going through and you're brushing on all that hydrogen peroxide and vinegar on top of the metal filing, it starts to react and you end up with a rusty water paste that you can actually just go and brush on almost like a paint, and it acts just like rust would. So we can just go through and put a little bit on right onto the base of the feet and just save a little bit for after you put the feet in. You just put a little bit around where it's sitting on the floor where moisture would sit and rot in there. So here's the gas can. I threw that together in between coats. Pretty cool. Did the rusty lid, a little bit of fuel running down the side there. Strap back over the top. These straps, the easiest way to deal with them is to just pop the glue off here, slide the strap out, don't mess with the buckles, and you can just take the fuel tank out, paint it all individually, put it back together, slide the strap back through and just glue it back down with a little bit of, I use canopy glue. So canopy glue is nice, good for that, nice and quick. Same as other seats, stained them up, dirtied them up, gear shifters, a little bit of rust. I did some black wash on the bottom boot on the bottom, and since I sprayed it matte black first and then I black washed it, actually washed off some of the black, exposing the green on underneath, so it kind of came out pretty cool. Now these shifters here, you can see the rust there's a little bit orange. That's because I just brushed them on with that leftover kind of paint there. That is a side effect of it. It turns a little bit orange, but you just take your black wash, go over top of that, and once that dries, that will look like rust on this guy. So I did forget to do the fuel cap, as I found it as I was going through. We're not doing all the extra little handles and things that were on the outside of the body. Those would have got knocked off out trailing and stuff, so we're just going to keep it nice and streamlined. The shovel, I did the head of the shovel. That's the real rust going on there, and some pigment and black wash over top of it. I still need to do the handle, and same as the axe head, we got the rust going on the axe head. I do need to do the silver on the tip and then a little bit of rust on top of that, and then do the handle. But these are pieces that can be done down the road. I'll actually do a little tutorial video on a set of these for you guys, show you how to do those up to make them look really nice. Besides that, rusted up the floor pan in the corners and the back side. There's still a couple little areas in there drying, and then we backwashed, and then I sprinkled in some lighter sand colored dirt into the bottom. You can get fancy, and as it's drying, you can put if one of your 1/6 drivers take his boot, put boot marks into the mud and stuff. Just kind of be fancy about it, right? So, but anyway, yeah, there she is. Get the little blackout light done there. One of our thank you for letting us know it's called the blackout light. That's done there. That's for driving at nighttime, not being seen by aircraft. And yeah, she's ready to go back together. I'm thinking it looks pretty damn good. Oh yeah, the front end, forgot about that too. So I quickly busted up the bumper, cut and then ripped this side off to give me a nice jagged edge, and then I did rust on the edge. Kind of melted, pushed back the corners, and then I scraped up the bottom with my razor saw. Just nicely went at it and cut, peeled it down, and then I heated it with a lighter and then kind of mushed it down a little bit, and then I rusted it. This is just nylon string in the middle, and I used the pigments to kind of color it to be kind of a greenish yellowish color, so that worked out well. So besides that, now we've got all these pieces. We need to put this guy back together. One more thing, wheels are back. We busted those out. I'm not sure if I showed you guys earlier, but I'm sure I'll figure it out when I'm editing this. Jesse's editing it. Ran those through the sandblaster, just gave them a little real nice and quick, and then sprayed those with hydrogen peroxide, vinegar, and salt. And like literally 15-20 minutes later, they look like this. Washed them off, and now they'll continue to rust on their own, and they'll actually start to darken up as the rust gets some age into it. So yes, they look a little bit orange right now, but as we go about driving it and stuff, and they get more wet and the rust starts to actually rust, it will get darker with age. So we'll just let those be, get out and do some running in the spring, and those will rust up in a couple days and look nice and match the rest of it. So we're gonna get back to getting this guy assembled, and then we're gonna talk about how we're gonna get the driver to fit in here. We do have a driver. We found this guy somewhere. He's got some sunburn. I'm sure he was left outside many times, and he's got a giraffe neck. So we're gonna have to figure that out. You guys, 30% neck on this dude. But the cool thing is the guy bends really nicely. Most of the figures don't or won't go into like a cross-legged pattern and such. So I haven't sat cross-legged ever, but I think it's like that. So this guy's gonna fit nice in here. We're gonna cut his feet shorter. We're gonna shorten his midsection and his neck just a little bit so we can get this guy fitting into the scale of the truck. 10-inch driver is about choice, and this guy's 12 inches with that neck. Yeah, he would be 10. We can get him down to 10 inches. We just got to take ½ inch off his neck, ½ inch off his belly, ½ inch off his feet, and we're almost there. So we'll show you how to do that and paint him and fix all of his sunburn, and yeah, have this guy ready out on the trail. So we're gonna go throw this together off camera. You don't need to see that. You just put screws in you took out, simple enough. You learned all the tricks on how to do the rust and the weathering. There's many ways to do it. Like I said, this is my way of doing it. We've done a handful. We're still learning. Every day we pick something up, we learn new tricks, but we're getting pretty good at it at this point. This body, I would say, is probably one of our best ones we've done yet. Most of them actually being a Lexan, so this is our first hard body, so that's probably why we're liking it a lot more. The pitting and stuff, the way it came out around here with the salt and stuff like that, it's just amazing in between the layers. So you kind of have to see that in person. Yeah, so we'll get this guy outside in the daylight instead of this artificial LED lighting. It's kind of hard to see the true colors of it. It does look amazing once it is outside. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a win from us saying it was a complete fail. Wasn't happy with the way it was looking before we started wet sanding, but that's the beauty of doing a project like this. It's kind of like tie-dye. You don't know what it looks like until you're done. So have fun. Hey guys, welcome back. Keith Jesse working on the ROC Hobby 1.6 MB 1941 Scaler Jeep thing there. I think I captured your title in there. It's pretty long with this guy. Basically, we did nothing to the bottom. Except for put a little bit of makeup, that stuff we showed you earlier in the video, just on the diffs, kind of add some coloring into them until we can go out and get into some dirt so it doesn't look so funny sitting on the shelf. Yeah, besides that, we went through all the weather, we showed you how to do that. It's all finished. We got a guy that we're going to be mocking up. We're going to throw some animatronics in this guy, get his head moving and such like that. We'll do that in a later video coming up down the road. But yeah, there's our full interior. Looking pretty good actually. Came out pretty good. We have the shovel, the axe, and the wooden storage box on the back. We want to get some wood grain painted on there. We got to do a couple test hits and make sure we remember how to do that. Pretty sure it's you put down the dark paint, let it, and then yeah, you let it dry, and then you put a light color wood grain over top, and then you brush it with a toothbrush. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes, but I got to check on that again. And I somehow forget the steering wheel and steering column, so I'm gonna just brush paint that and add some detail onto that after it's already installed. But it's such a great little unit. This guy's hooked up to a servo under dash, which is on a linkage, which when you turn the wheels turns the steering wheel, and give me a lot of fun on the trail. One of our fans was saying, that's what we call this guy, the scam artist build. He says that we're con artists, we're thieving people because we're modifying a truck that it says in the manual you can't modify. Anyway, we'll post up a link. AliExpress just released aluminum C-hubs, panhard mount, and steering knuckles, the infamous weak spot on these trucks. Besides that, front to back, it's a solid unit. As we went through in our other video, it's got a metal gear set. Drive shafts are metal and plastic, kind of like the Wild Boar axials. Steel links, really decent shocks, especially after rebuilding, put a little bit of oil in them. They feel really good. We took out that mystery mineral oil that was in them. So yeah, we got this truck, as you remember, 150 bucks off that Amazon fire sale they're having with them. I'm hoping they have another one because I'll probably grab like a dozen of them. They're cool little trucks, fun to build. So now we got one box stock Army, and then we got this one. The box stock Army one, we are going to do a little bit of work onto it. Probably keep it, oh heck, we're probably going to do the same thing like this, just a little bit different colors. It's so much more fun doing it this way than keeping a box stock. So yeah, so anyhow, what's next? Roll cage. Need to build a roll cage so we can protect our driver. Occupants here. In an accident, said driver may fall out. So
I've hurt myself.
Yeah. So we're gonna build a roll cage, come up in the front, taper out, so it follows the tub line. As you can see, the tub line here tapers. So we'll come up to the front, probably about there. About there. Use a flexible distance finder. So a couple things. We're best to go out and start bending up the material. I'm just going to do a hoop in the front because we're not running the windshield. So hoop in the front, hoop over the driver, and then taper down to maybe just a couple mounts in the back corners here. So single hoop, double hoop. Might just start with the one hoop in the back to kind of keep it more simple. Kind of go with the era, the 1960 style, come back from the war, and built a rock crawler out of a military Jeep. We kind of have to play with some design on that, so we're not going to start on that right now. We'll throw that in another video on how to braze and how to build a cage for it. But yeah, that pretty much brings us to the wrap on the end of this one for now. A couple things we'll do down the road, a little bit of details on the inside and stuff like that, but it's pretty much good everywhere. Put the headlights, oh my. Put the headlights in it. I got to put the rear bumper on it, and that's about it, yeah. So yeah, if you see these up for sale, a lot of potential in them. You can get aluminum parts for them. We're not sponsored. These are our honest own opinions. We've bought this with our money. So yeah, fun little truck. Even if it doesn't perform as good as you want, it's still going to look better than most of the trucks you have with a little bit of work. So awesome. Stay tuned, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. We're going to get this guy set up. He's got some sun fading and such on his face, and he's got one hell of a giraffe neck on him. So we're gonna take a couple feet out of his neck, put a servo in there, get his head moving side to side, and then his upper chest can flex side to side. Wait, sorry, YouTube appropriate here.
Oh no.
Oh, his upper chest can flex side to side. So I'm gonna put a servo inside of him to make him kind of pivot back and forth as he turns the steering wheel of the vehicle. And then his other hand is gonna bang the shifter, which actually the shifter will have a linkage from underneath, which it will move, and his hand will just be mounted onto it to move with the shifter. So that's gonna be a fun project, working forward on this. So yeah, stay tuned for that one, guys. Coming up soon.